I'm Matt.
Hey, I'm Steve.
Hey, I'm John.
This is the Sober Friends Podcast. We're here for the sober curious, the new guy, and the old timer. We're here to talk about the stuff anyone looking to live alcohol-free has to face day to day, and how we overcame those struggles. We speak for no 12-step group, but we do try to remain anonymous. You're not alone. This is the Sober Friends Podcast. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about relapse triggers. Because I don't know about you, but that's the thing I am terrified of. But first, I wanted to share a little bit of an update on my health stuff. No, Steve today, he is doing some Mother's Day stuff, so we gave him the week off. We taped this on a Sunday morning. You hear it on Tuesday, so we're taping this on Mother's Day. It gives me an opportunity to run downstairs before my wife wakes up. Then I run back upstairs and I edit this stuff later so I can do stuff with the family, and my wife hasn't figured out what she wants to do for Mother's Day yet. So we'll figure that out later. So that's where we are. Hope you had a sober and safe Mother's Day. First, let me tell you some health stuff. I've been complaining about sleep apnea, complaining about my sleep, feeling sorry for myself at times. I got my CPAP machine. I've had it for 2 weeks, a little over 2 weeks now, and I've been using it every single night. And this is one of those things, because I have mild to moderate sleep apnea. I was told it may take 2 weeks to a month to really see a change. And they were right. It's been a really gradual thing, and sometimes it's frustrating. I do feel better. So one of the things I've noticed is I can't sleep past 7 a.m. anymore. I'm just ready to be up at that time, which tells me I'm getting better sleep. I feel really comfortable wearing a mask. I guess the mask and headgear that I have is like a hug. That's the best way to describe it. I have no issues there. I wake up because I jostle around with the mask from time to time, and the daytime sleepiness is not all gone, but it's better. And I have more time on weekends because I'm not sleeping till 9 or 10, and that's really a joy. The other thing that I have been doing is working on my weight. The heaviest that I was probably in the past year or so is 294. I'm 6'2". I'm a pretty big guy. I've always been a big guy. But getting to 300 pounds is a red line I didn't want to cross. And my doctor told me, you can't get any heavier. You can't get to 300 pounds. So at the time he told me that, I was 287. I got on the scale yesterday. It was 263. The change that I have made has been recovery based. And I say that is I'm not looking to see what do I need to eat today to lose weight. What do I need to eat today so that I can maintain the weight I want to get to? I'd really like to get down to maybe between 180 and 190 because that puts me within BMI. We'll see when I get there. I might have to put on a lot more muscle to fill myself out. And I've never been able to really sustain that weight. But at 48 years of age, I got to be healthier. I've got to have lower weight. I took a, what are those things called? The work things where they measure your belly. They do a test on you, and I can't remember the name of it, but they took my cholesterol and stuff, and my HDL is the highest it's ever been, 47. It is hard for me to get above a 40. And then I learned it really should be above a 60. But I will take it at 47. Here are the things that I do. I go to the gym every day. I get cardio. And I work towards getting 10,000 steps a day. I have the type of job where I have a lot of meetings. A lot of those meetings I don't have to participate. I can be an observer. So I get up and I go take for a little walk during those meetings. And I come back 10 minutes at a time, 15 minutes at a time. And it gets me to 10,000 steps. And my VO2 max has gone way up. So I think I figured out something. And a lot of this is recovery principles. I accept what I can't control. I try and look to a higher power to give me a little bit of help with food. And I think through what sober eating might look like. There's a lot of those principles that I work on. So that's a little bit of update there. I am doing much better than I was doing before. All right, let's talk a little bit about relapse triggers. I don't know about you, but relapse terrifies me. I'm in love with my sobriety date. I love being 10 years sober. and I don't want to give that up, yet the next drink is an arm's length away. As somebody who went into a 12-step group and never relapsed, I am in the minority. I'm probably in the single digits. Relapse is part of the story for a lot of people. It is the norm. A lot of people, the new people I see who come into meetings, 9 out of 10 of them don't stick around. I don't see them again. The people who I would like to see regularly, I don't. And I could be better going to meetings. But I'll tell you, I feel sober and I do things with the family and I try and do the next right thing. I don't want to give that up. I love my house. I love my marriage. I love my kids. And I fear ending up in some extended stay hotel because I can't live with the family. So I found an article on verywellmind.com. I'm going to link to this article where I was motivated and inspired around things to talk about around relapse and how to prevent it. And the number one bullet here is stress. I have had a stressful time over many years. I'm in a great place right now with my job where all of my talents are being used. I do this podcast as a hobby. I do it as outreach and 12-step work to get to the next person who wants to get sober, or that person just wants to stay sober and you need that extra inspiration. I'm really good with audio and video tools, and I do a lot of that in my job now. And so I almost have stress there that I feel like I shouldn't get paid for this because I enjoy doing it. This past October, I had a level of stress where I didn't even feel like I wanted to continue living. It was a really, really bad place, and the meter was pinged, and I couldn't focus on anything. So I did the next right thing. I continued going to meetings. I shared with people. I called people, and I started going to therapy again. And I knew I needed to have a plan to get out of the job I was in because it was killing me. And once I had a plan, I got out of that, and I'm in a much better place. That's not always the case with people. Stress can be that thing that causes people to relapse. Hell, it was the solution to my problems when I was drinking. If I felt stress, I could have a few pops, and I knew I could manage. And here's the dirty secret. If you have a bottle of wine, a 6-pack of beer, you may feel great in the moment, but there's no free lunch. You're going to end up feeling like crap the next day. And for me, my anxiety was pinged up to the max, which just brings the cycle round and round. And you use that as a bad way of coping. So under a stressful situation, sort of like Pavlov's dog, that triggers you to say, alcohol is the thing that I need. Alcohol is the thing that can help with my stress. Could be a relationship, could be a toxic relationship. But man, stress is one of those things. So I would love to hear from you so that we can make this a two-way conversation. I'd love to hear the things that you get over with your stress. There are things that you can do. I did yoga for a short time, and I really would love to find a way to get back into it. I never felt better after doing yoga. I always felt as though in the moment, I wasn't getting a workout. And as soon as I was done, I was drenched in sweat. I felt like I'd run a mile, and everything was let go. It was this wonderful feeling of all the issues gone. Yoga was a wonderful thing. Meditation is one of those things, especially early on when I felt stress. I would run upstairs, or I'd tell my wife, I need 5 minutes. And I run upstairs and I would just do some deep breathing. And I would think of a mantra of, accept what I can't control. I want to stay sober. I wish to let go of what I'm feeling. And sometimes that's just one of those things that can let go of the toxic feelings and you end up feeling better. And it could just be, I just need like an additional couple of minutes of breathing and it helps me feel better. Praying is one of those things. There have been so many times I got down on my knees and prayed. I had to go to these corporate dinners in my past job when I worked in the office, and these things were just soaked and drenched with alcohol, and the alcohol was free. And I can't tell you how many times, you know what got me through it? Because that is a stressful situation. What got me through it is I'd excuse myself, I'd go to the bathroom, and I'd say the Serenity Prayer over and over and over again, and it became a mantra, and man, did it help. Exercise right now is the thing that's helping me the most. I shared on Instagram on Juneteenth last year about how somebody called in and I took a call from a customer. When I was getting calls, it was because they wanted to speak to someone higher, someone in management, and that would be me. So the only calls I ever got were people who were in a highly escalated situation. So it's all really angry people. That's stressful as it is. This person wanted an install for their cable services immediately. It was Juneteenth, and Juneteenth for my company is a holiday. And I support that. If you want to go back and I'm not going to give you the story of Juneteenth, but go look it up. If you got to go to Wikipedia, go look it up. What I'm telling you is we should have been celebrating Juneteenth a long time ago. And I said, I can find you the soonest appointment. That's not a problem at all. Today is not something that is going to be possible. Well, why? Well, the reason is it's a holiday. It's a company holiday. It's a fake holiday. It shouldn't be celebrated, and you should have your people in. And I have to tell you that in customer service is for the most part dominated by women. And on the front lines, there are a lot of people who are Black, who are Hispanic, and who are people who are brown other than white. And when I hear something that I view as racism from somebody, it's very sensitive because I'm protective of my people who look different than me. And this person saying Juneteenth is fake triggered me. I got the person off the phone, but I was so fired up that day that I ended up going to the gym at like 10 o'clock at night. And I think I remember going on a bunch of different equipment and stopping because it just hurt at that point that I was running strictly on the stress and the anger of how I felt. I literally was walking around the house. I'm like, if I do not go to the gym, I am going to lash out at every person in this family, and this is going to be a terrible thing for you. So I went to the gym and at least got out what I could get out of that. And it was hard. If you're feeling those feelings of stress, feelings that you want to drink, go for a walk, get on a bike, get your body moving. Because sometimes that's the thing that gets the stress out. If you have to keep walking for 2 hours, do it. And if you can get some habits in there of working out on a regular basis, that is going to bring the stress down so things are more manageable. Now, for those of us who are addicted, the gym can be our new addiction. So you have to be careful that you're not just going to the gym and that becomes your brand new addiction, and then you're away from your family for that. So there is this balance of what is healthy. But moving away, getting on the elliptical, going for a run, going for a bike ride, these are all healthy things that you can do to feel better about yourself so you don't have to grab a drink. I can tell you that for me, there are people who can cause me to feel like, a drink is a solution to this. Let's be frank here. We have this view that family and holidays should be wonderful all the time. They should be like a Hallmark movie. And the reason that we feel that way sets us up for failure. Family is so stressful. These are people who we like, much like going to school. When you went to school, or you're at work, there are people that you are forced to spend time with that you wouldn't choose to spend time with, but you have to. That's your family. Even in the healthiest family, these are people that you're around because you were born into a family and they're just around. And every family has those toxic elements. I sure do. And I got through a lot of family gatherings by downing beer and downing wine, and then it was okay. And there are family people who are just difficult to deal with. There are family members who drink. They may drink in small amounts. They may drink to excess. All of those things are a trigger for me. So you need to have a plan for that. Maybe around friends. Maybe these are friends that you used to hang around with when you drank. You may be invited, like me, to corporate dinners or corporate meetings. And a lot of these things are just drenched in alcohol. What do? I think there are things with the steps that you can do to get through it. What can I control? What can I control? It is okay to have an exit plan. If you're there with your family, talk to your spouse, if you have a spouse, a significant other. If you think that the family gathering or the group of friends or the work event is going to be very, very stressful, it's okay to take 2 cars. Early on, I took 2 cars. I had a plan for this. And I told my wife, if I'm not feeling good about this, I'm leaving. And she's okay with it. And sometimes, is this a politically incorrect term? I don't know. I don't mean any harm by it, but the Irish goodbye. The Irish goodbye, as I understand it, is you just leave and you don't say bye to everybody. There is nothing wrong that if it's the difference between you drinking and not drinking, you just get up out of your chair and you walk out and you get in your car and you leave. Forget what other people are going to think about you. They're going to think a lot worse about you if you go back to drinking and you're drunk all the time and acting like a jackass. If that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. Here's one of those things that really helped me in those gatherings. Pick up the phone and know people you can call, and not just your sponsor. Have like 10, 20 people you can go down a phone list and talk to. Because the first 10 may not pick up, but somebody will pick up. And you're not bothering somebody by calling. And I have to tell you, I feel like that way sometimes. I'm like, oh, I'm bothering somebody because I have those self-esteem issues. When somebody calls me and they're saying, I'm just not feeling good, I need to talk to somebody, I feel so incredibly honored. You thought of calling me. I'm the person who can help you get through the situation. It's like the greatest pat on the back and compliment you can give me. So I try and build those relationships with people where I don't call them when my ass is on fire. I call people just to pay it forward. Hey, I'm calling you just to see how you're doing. I remember you told me about this problem last week. How have you felt since then? Just those little things, which, by the way, also make me feel a lot better, but builds those relationships where I have the opportunity to help them more than they're helping me. Negative or challenging emotions can be one of those things. For me, it's stress. It can be guilt. I will tell you, I still feel those feelings with food. I ate and eat alcoholically, and I had to change how I was going to eat if I was going to get to my target weight and stay there. And I have to tell you, there are times if I gorge, I have those feelings of beating myself up. And there are just negative feelings that you have in your life. It could be the job, your boss, your coworkers, fights with the wife, fights with the husband, kids who are mouthing off. I've got mouthy kids, and I will tell you that feeling really bothers me. I have negative emotions around not feeling loved and realizing going to therapy. I mean, everything has to do with your parents and everything has to do with growing up. And I try like hell to have a childhood for my kids where they're not going to go to therapy and complain about me for years and years. I don't want to break them like I was broken. So one of my triggers is not feeling appreciated and loved. And that can make my head explode. And it's the easiest way to get me from 0 to 100. So what do you got to do? You have to find those things that are going to work for you. So some of the things we've already talked about. And one of the things I don't do enough, journal it. If there are those people, places, and things that cause you to stress, put it down on paper. I was in an anger management group that Jill Teets does for her sober-powered life. Hat tip to her. She does great work. And Jill made me write down when I'm angry and why. And that's how I kind of figured out there are things about not feeling appreciated and not feeling loved that cause me to flip out. So if you have those stressful periods of time, take out a piece of paper, a notebook. It doesn't even have to be really fancy, and write it down. I'm angry. I'm angry at my wife. I'm angry at my wife because she didn't make me feel appreciated. She promised to help me washing the dishes, and then she walked away and she didn't. So she must not love me or care about me. And therefore, I have to carry on everything all by myself. I'm a martyr. Well, why? Well, because it's a feeling of me not feeling appreciated. And those feelings, when they lead to anger, are the best way for me to uncork a bottle of wine and just pour it down my gullet. Writing it down helps you to understand. Then you can take that to the next step. Take it to your therapist and say, hey, I got this journal. Here are all these things. I am seeing this big red circle right here that tells me this is why I'm angry. I need your help with this. This is also really helpful in terms of talking to your friends, whether you're in a 12-step group or not. One of the great things about 12-step groups is it gives you a group of people that you can talk to. It gives you community. Somebody who's gone through what you've gone through. I lean on those people. It's one of the ways I get through them. Seeing or sensing the object of your addiction. When I was a wine drinker, it became my identity. I had a Wine Spectator subscription. I bought special glasses. If you're not a wine snob, there are glasses that are tuned to Chardonnay or Pinot Noir or Merlot, all these things, because it drops the wine on a certain part of your tongue. And if you only fill it up a little way, the aroma comes in that you experience the wine as it was designed to be experienced, which is a very silly thing after the fact now that I got sober. But it's reality. It's what it is. It's a way I told myself that I wasn't an alcoholic. I was a wine connoisseur, and I was learning agriculture and things. Not like those people who drink Bush Light all day or Key Light. Those are people who are drunks. I'm not a drunk. I was a drunk, regardless of how expensive this stuff was. This was still, I was drinking it not because I was learning to attune my taste buds to the different tones in a French Syrah versus a Shiraz, which is the same thing in Australia. That's bogus. It was a method for me to get drunk. But I had an identity as a wine drinker, and I had that subscription, and I had those glasses, and I made an investment into drinking, into what my identity was. And it's hard to get rid of that and mourn it. So you drive by those wine bars you always wanted to go to. You drive by the high-class liquor stores, and there is that pull. And you have to be aware of that, and it can pull you right back into addiction. Here's what helped me. What's the new life I wanted? Where I'm free from those shackles of those places. What are the things that I wanted? Immediately, better marriage. I wanted to be a better dad, a better employee. I wanted to be healthy. I just wanted to not be like my dad. not like the other family members. And that is a much better identity than anything of being a sommelier. It's being the sober guy I always wanted to be, where I'm free from that, where I'm not running up a bar tab. I'm going out for tacos and I have a cheap bill because I didn't buy Dos Equis that day. So you can substitute that behavior. The gym comes into play, relaxation, journaling, yoga, going to a meeting. Celebration is a tough one. When you're celebrating things, my God, a wedding. The idea, so I was a drinker when I had my wedding. But at the time, the idea that you could be sober at your own wedding was appalling to me. The whole purpose is, you pay all that money and now I can't imbibe on the fruits of my labor there. It's an open bar. People are getting me beer. There's a booze bus on the way down. It just feels like I'm wasting something. And I have to tell you, that's the way it is kind of with food with me. I am wasting the opportunity if I don't have that food, that ice cream, or that alcohol. And a lot of celebratory events are tied to alcohol. Whether it's a christening or a wedding, a graduation, think of all those things where the keg is present, that you are not feeling like I'm fully involved unless I have a beer and I'm outside the circle and I'm somebody who's ostracized from anybody else. And this just isn't the case. This is another great reason that 12-step groups are good for you early on. This is not an endorsement of 12-step groups. You find your own way. I mention it that if you're a regular attendee of a 12-step group and you get involved and you shake hands with people, you're going to get a crew. Find your crew of sober people, and those people you can learn how to celebrate without alcohol. I have gone to a bunch of dinners for people who have long terms of sobriety, these steak dinners out at nice places. And I will tell you, we're the most rambunctious group, and we run the place free of sparkling water. And you learn how to have fun. If you've got good sober people, they invite you to Christmas dinners or the holiday party with sober people, where you and your spouse and their spouses can go and learn how to have fun without drinking. This is all good stuff. And if you think about that, like if I got a group of friends who are tighter with me than they were when I was sober, you've gained something. You haven't lost something. I hope this has been really helpful for you. Those situations that help prevent relapse. Tell me about yours. Have you relapsed? How did you come back from it? Was that hard? Why was it hard? And how did you get over it? If you're somebody with long-term sobriety, what have you done to prevent relapse? What is the work you've done every single day? If you're brand new, you found this podcast, thank you. I hope we can be part of how you have a great sober experience, a long-term sober experience. What else would you want to learn from people who have done this well to help prevent you from relapse? The website is soberfriendspod.com. There's a link right there, matt@soberfriendspod.com. That's my email address. And I'm on Instagram as much as I possibly can, @soberfriendspod. You can DM me. You can respond to the comments there. There are a lot of ways to get back and forth. So it's important that I hear from you so that I'm not just sitting in my basement staring at this microphone thinking I'm talking to myself, because that's what's going to make me feel like I'm insane. So we'll be back next week with some more fun, some more ways to keep you sober. Until then, we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody. You made it this far into the podcast. That tells me you're a pretty big fan. If you like what we do and you find value in the podcast, consider a donation at buymeacoffee.com/soberfriendspod. Your donation keeps us on the air to to help out the new guy and helps us defray some of our costs. If you find value in our podcast, please consider a donation at buymeacoffee.com/soberfriendspod.